It was a crisp October afternoon in a small town outside Salem, Massachusetts. The kind of place where everyone still remembered who used to live in which house 50 years ago. Grace Whitman's wedding had been beautiful. Classic white chapel, orange and brown leaves swirling like confetti. Her smile perfect beneath a veil passed down for 3 generations. The reception ended just as dusk swallowed the sky. "Are you ready?" her new husband, Jack, asked, helping her into his vintage Jeep. Their destination, Jack's family lodge deep in the Berkshires, where generations of Whitmans had gone after their wedding, a secluded house surrounded by pine forest, a place his father used to call sacred ground. Grace had never seen it. She was told it was tradition that the bride only set foot there after the vows. The drive took 4 hours. The deeper into the woods they went, the weaker the radio signal got. By the time they arrived, the night was pitch black, and Grace was asleep with her head against the window. "We're here," Jack whispered. The house was enormous, not old and crumbling, but somehow waiting. Black shutters like blinking eyes. Wind chimes on the porch sang, though there was no wind. Inside it was rustic and warm. Jack lit the fireplace. Grace explored. A dusty photo above the hearth showed generations of brides in her dress, standing on the porch with identical posture. It gave her goosebumps. She pointed, "That's weird. They all look like me." Jack glanced. "It's the dress. Makes everyone look the same." She tried to laugh, but couldn't. The next morning, Jack had to drive into town to pick up groceries. The nearest store was 30 minutes away, and Grace stayed behind. She planned to take a bath, unpack her things, and maybe nap. As she passed the living room, the chimes rang again. She turned, the door was closed. She paused. From the hallway upstairs came a creak. "Jack?" she called. No answer. She climbed the stairs and found nothing but the lined-up wedding portraits. But now, there was one new frame at the end of the hall. It was her. Already framed, already hung, already yellowing. Her stomach tightened. She touched the frame. Dust fell from it. That night, Grace said nothing. "Maybe your family has a weird sense of humor," she offered over dinner. Jack just smiled. "We've had our share of oddities." 2 days later, she woke up to find her suitcase unpacked. Not just unpacked. Everything had been perfectly arranged in the drawers. Underwear folded in 3s, socks sorted by color. "Did you do this?" she asked Jack. He shook his head. She didn't press it. But when she went into the bathroom, her toothbrush was wet, though she hadn't used it. At noon, she heard the landline ring. Jack answered. His face changed. He stepped into the hallway and whispered. Grace tiptoed to the door. "No, not yet. She hasn't done it." "I know. I will." Click. That night, Grace dreamed of walking through the woods in her dress, pine needles stuck in her feet, her veil trailing like a leash. Something whispered from behind every tree. She woke up gasping. Jack was not in bed. She wandered through the house. He wasn't in the kitchen, or the living room, or the porch. Then she heard whispering from the basement. She froze. The door was cracked. A dim yellow light flickered below. Her fingers trembled as she pushed it open. Creak. The stairs moaned as she descended. "Jack?" she called. No reply. She reached the bottom and turned. The basement was full of bride mannequins. Each wore the same wedding dress. Each had hair like hers. Each had eyes painted shut. In the middle of the room was a small table. On it, a white candle in a glass jar. Next to it, a note. Light before midnight. Her heart dropped. She ran upstairs. When Jack returned, she demanded answers. What is this place? Why do you have that photo? Why are there mannequins in the basement? He didn't deny it. He just sat down slowly and said, "It's not what you think." Then explain it. He stared at the fire. My family, there's a ritual, a pact. What pact? Jack swallowed. Every bride, since 1889, they light a white candle on the first Friday after the wedding. If they don't, it starts. What starts? The one who waits, in the woods, in the walls, the one that watches through the trees. Grace was trembling. This is insane. He looked at her with an expression so sad it made her sick. My mother didn't light it. Grace backed away. She was gone by our first Christmas. The next day, Grace lit the candle. It burned bright, a clean white flame. That night, she slept deeply. But she woke up at 3:12 a.m. to a sound like nails on glass. She turned toward the window. Outside stood herself. Same hair, same veil, same bruises on the arm. Only the eyes were missing, gouged out like the mannequins. She screamed. Jack ran in. He saw nothing. 2 days passed. Grace started forgetting words. Calling the dog, they didn't have a dog. Talking in her sleep. Jack begged her to leave, to go to her mother's. Grace refused. She needed answers. She waited until he drove to town again, then returned to the basement. She found a dusty journal behind one of the mannequins. It was from a woman named Eleanor Whitman, dated 1949. The candle does not protect you. It binds you. To light it is to invite her in. The others lied. They all lied. I saw her in the mirror last night. She looked like me, but her mouth was full of teeth. Too many teeth. I tried to leave. The forest turned me back. No matter what road I took, I returned to the lodge. She wants Jack. The pages ended with a burn mark. Grace packed a bag and left that evening. She drove for an hour, then saw the same mailbox they had passed when arriving. She had gone in a circle. She turned around and passed it again. That night, the mirror in the guest room cracked down the middle. Grace refused to sleep. She stared at the candle, which now flickered black. At 2:00 a.m., her phone rang. The caller ID, Grace Whitman. She answered, hands shaking. A woman's voice whispered, "You lit the wrong one." Jack found her the next morning, curled in a ball near the fireplace. "I want to go home," she sobbed. He nodded. "Tomorrow. We'll leave tomorrow." But that night, Grace didn't sleep. She heard scratching under the bed, then under her skin. She pulled up her sleeve. Tiny bruises had appeared overnight, in the shape of fingers. In desperation, Jack called the local priest. Father Michaels arrived just before sunset. He walked through the house in silence, pausing at the fireplace. He stared at the photo wall, then asked, "Where did the candle come from?" Grace pointed. The priest's face paled. "That's not a white candle. That's binding wax. That's a summoning object." Grace felt her legs go numb. The priest turned. "We need to leave, now." But as they reached the door, it slammed shut. The windows blew inward. The candle's flame turned blue. From the hallway, they heard laughter. Grace's voice, but lower, animalistic. Footsteps upstairs, then screaming from the basement. Grace's limbs froze. "She's here," she whispered. The priest began praying. The lights flickered. From the stairs, something moved. Not walked, crawled, jointed wrong, backwards. A woman in a white dress. No eyes, no face, just teeth where her features should be. The priest screamed and threw holy water. The thing stopped, but Grace didn't move. "She wants to finish it," she murmured. "What?" "She's not done. The ritual's not complete." Then Grace turned to Jack. "You didn't tell me everything." Jack's face was pale. "I couldn't," he said. "There's a final part," Grace said calmly. "After the candle, the offering. The bride must give herself or someone else." Father Michaels shouted, "Don't listen, it's lying." But Grace wasn't hearing him. She stepped toward Jack. "You chose me," she said, voice flat. "I didn't want to." She reached out and pushed him into the fire. Jack screamed, flames licking up the chimney, the candle extinguishing with a pop. Everything fell silent. A week later, the sheriff found nothing in the cabin but ashes and a wedding photo of Grace standing on the porch, smiling. The lodge was declared condemned. Locals say no animals go near it now. And sometimes, if you drive past the tree line on a moonless night, you'll see a bride standing in the window. But she's not waiting for a groom. She's waiting for the next candle. If this story kept you up tonight, you're not the only one. Subscribe for more haunting tales.